you mentioned a little while ago, obviously, your video, and I'll definitely go and check that out because I don't think I've watched that video of you playing basketball. Obviously, you said that you've played basketball with people in all different stages of their journey with dementia. And I think that's something that people don't always get, that every activity can still be potentially adapted. Not every activity, but mostly. How can carers adapt activities when the person's abilities do change them? Obviously, without making them feel like they've failed or they've lost something.
Well, it always depends on how much you know the person. I think you also have to observe the person. Do they like it if you kind of challenge them and have something that is maybe a bit more difficult than what they can do, so that they can really improve, Or do they like it if you bring something that's a bit easier and then increase the difficulty? I tend to do the second one, so bring something that is kind of make it the easiest possible, and then be like, wow, you're really good at it. Let's make it more challenging. So for instance, with basket, it's going to be starting with the basket that's really close to them and be like, okay, let's put it just right in here. Wow, you're really good. Let's make it a bit further away. And once it gets challenging, like, yes, I made it.
Yeah.
Make it into, my goal is to challenge you. And so let's make it easy at the beginning, and just as every time you just showed me that you were way better than I thought. So let's increase the challenge until it gets challenging, and then you can kind of
reverse it again.
Yeah, reverse it or stay there if you find that they enjoy it, because sometimes, like basketball, the aim of basketball is that it's challenging. If you always make the basket, well, it's kind of getting boring.
I don't know. I quite like getting the basket every time because I very rarely ever do. So, but yeah, that falls into, so we have the 6 C's principle, and the last 2 are challenge and competency. And I think that's something that, competency is something so beneficial for human well-being and our self-esteem, to feel like I'm still worthwhile, to feel like I can still do that. But then that challenge is what stretches that competency to kind of go, oh, okay, I can manage more. If we always set it so it's comfortable, then that person never feels like they're doing anything and overcoming a challenge at that point. And that's part of human nature again, that not everybody, as you said, it needs to be person-centered, but most of us love to overcome a challenge. That's how we build, mastery of overcoming something difficult. Climbing Everest isn't considered to be something worthwhile doing because it's only a little hill that everybody can do. It's because it is really difficult that then people feel a huge sense of validation and pride from achieving it. And I think sometimes we forget that's something that is there for human well-being, even if it's something that's risky, as you mentioned earlier, as far as, the risk aversion. It might be risky, but actually they need it to feel a sense of worth, feel a sense of value in life. Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely going to watch that video and see you engaging people. See how good you are at basketball yourself. See if I can beat you in a game. Okay. Because
you can beat me.
Yeah. We'll have some included competition in those C's somewhere. So a lot of people out there kind of search the question, what activities are good for dementia? And is that even the right question, or should we be asking something a little bit different from that question?
So I like to ask the question rather, what is a good activity for this person? Like what will feel familiar, predictable, ego safe, and give a sense of control? Knowing that it doesn't always have to have all 4 ingredients. Sometimes having something that's new creates this challenge that we were talking about, and creates this, okay, let's try something new and see how it goes, Yeah. Curiosity can still be very much a part of activities that you offer to someone living with dementia. It doesn't have to have all 4 ingredients, but still keeping in mind that I think ego safety and control is something that, as much as possible, yes, have it. Yeah, I think looking into activities that are meaningful to the person, that they enjoy, and trying things out. If you're looking at activities that you want familiar, predictable, ego safe, and controllable, it's going to be something that they used to do in the past. For instance, you could start painting, or you could do some yard work, or watering the plants, or things that they enjoyed in the past. But what I've realized also is sometimes those activities that the person was really good at can be extremely fragile. What I realized is that for activities where the person was really good at, for instance, painting, if it was a painter or things like that, it can be challenging and therefore not ego safe at all to do some painting, because it's like, I used to be able to paint Andy and make him look like it was a photograph, and now I can barely make a drawing. And so it can become painful to do that. And in that case, it can be interesting to be more into let's have something that's predictable, that's completely new, and really present it as, I'm going to challenge you today. Let's try something that's different. And
that makes a lot of sense to say, if you're, as you say, if you used to have a real talent for something and suddenly that talent's gone, that's going to feel more overwhelmingly kind of, as you say, damaging the ego at that point. Whereas if I can try something completely new and not be great at it, that's still better than, because I've never tried it before, I've got no frame of reference to kind of hold on to at that point. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think that maybe when people are looking at life story work, sometimes maybe they can get caught on both things, I suppose, can't they? One is, what activities are suitable for dementia as a generalized thing, which means they're not person-centered. But then other times people can get overly person-centered, going, well, they only liked this in the past, so we're only going to do this now. And that's the stepping outside the comfort zone again, going, well, try something different. Try, maybe they've always wanted to paint, but they were never allowed. And therefore give it a go. Maybe they were always worried about, because I hate painting because I don't like the cleaning up at the end. So I think I'll enjoy it in care because hopefully somebody else will clean it up for me. So that makes much more sense to me. So I'll give it a go now. And I won't feel bad because I can't do it, because I can't do it now. So I'll have no loss of confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've had people where we did painting and they discovered they had a huge talent for it. It's like, oh, I'm actually really good at it. And so it was a new way of working for them and of feeling validated, because they discovered they had a hidden talent. Absolutely. And there was something else that made me think when you were saying that. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Okay. If you think related, and bring it back up. Now, I know that you involve families as much as possible in a lot of the work that you do. So what role can families play in helping staff understand what is meaningful for the actual person?
They can tell you what the person enjoys, what they like. For instance, I've had people where I was like, oh, I realized they enjoy watching TV and being involved in activities when we look at things, but I don't really know what to offer that they will actually really enjoy. And then the person might say, oh, my parents used to go to the cinema, or go to watch ballet and like classical concerts and things like that. So you're like, okay, I could create one day of let's watch or 1 hour of let's watch a concert, or let's look at live videos of planes in Heathrow if they were a pilot, or things like that, to just make it more meaningful to the person.
Yeah.
and create conversations that are more meaningful to them. For instance, if someone, I had someone who used to ask me, how is school? Is your teacher nice?
Mm-hmm.
And so when is your break? When are you going back to school? And I asked the family, I was like, what kind of activities, like how did your parents help you when you were going to school? And they told me, oh, well, my mom always did dictations for us. That was her big thing.
Right, okay.
She didn't really help us with math. She didn't really help us with all the rest of the homeworks, but dictations, yeah, she was good at that.
Right, okay.
So I printed a sheet of paper with the dictation that I asked ChatGPT to write.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Why not, right?
Absolutely.
And so I read that and I was like, hey, I could really use your help because I have this dictation and I need to get ready for this. Can you dictate this for me? And so they started doing the dictation. And of course, being in my role, I was like, you're going too fast. Slow down.
Love that.
And so we did that dictation. And of course, the reality is not that I'm at school and that I need help with my homework and things like that. But at that point, during that moment, the person was actually in the present, reading the paper and helping me, and they didn't have any hallucinations with which she often had, and things like that, and I think that's really important, and that's where the family can really help. When you listen to the person saying, what do I do? Ask them, what did your mom used to do in the past? What did they enjoy doing? And try to bring that in as an activity. Other example was also realizing that someone liked to read. So being like, oh, could you help me? I would really enjoy it if you could read a book to those residents, because I think they could really enjoy that. And I don't have time to do it. Would you have time? And so you pass from the what do I do to there's something to do that they enjoy. And the family can really guide you into things that they enjoy doing.
I think it's so important. Obviously, we teach an awful lot around responding to distress behaviors. And one of the areas that I was at a home recently where they were talking about a lady who can be, how they would describe it, quite difficult. And I think the journey is quite difficult for the carers going in, trying to do the best by the lady. These aren't bad people in the slightest, but they're worried about her personal hygiene. They're worried about her well-being. So they're going in and trying to get her to get washed, and there's significant resistance. And I chatted to them for a while, kind of going, well, what do you know about her? Tell me about it. She used to be a teacher. Somebody said she used to do cooking. I said, well, how many times has somebody gone in with a cookbook? How many times has somebody gone in and maybe kind of going, hey, I need to know how to do this. I know that you used to cook. Can you help me at all? And I said, if you're struggling to get her to engage in personal hygiene and you're going to get her to then show you something about cooking, well, what do you usually do before you start cooking and handling food? Well, you usually then wash your hands. So it's very different going in going, you're dirty, you need a wash, to, hey, how about we wash our hands before you show me how to do this cooking? And hey, while we're in the bathroom, let's carry on that journey a little bit. But I think there's that, I sometimes come across resistance from care teams and families going, we've tried everything. And I'm afraid that this is where, whether it's controversial or not, I get the frustration. I'm not belittling the challenges that, being a caregiver can bring. But that's not true. You haven't tried everything. You have tried some stuff that hasn't worked, but that means that then we just got to think outside the box and try something different, or try it a different way, or try it at a different time. Or it's all about kind of being again, just exploring the option. It isn't. It's not. There's not an answer to this person. It's part of the moment is trying to figure out the moment, the journey to figure out the moment.
Being really curious and remembering, what I like to say is there's more than one way to Rome. So whenever you find yourself in a situation where you don't know where to go, of course there is one way that is the most visible, but you can also stop, look around, and see, is there another way that maybe is more hidden but feels better for me and for the person I'm accompanying, and really it doesn't have to be always the one path that everybody tells us. It can be something completely different. You can create your own path. There's more than one way to Rome.
Now, I know you offer training, and when you're delivering training, one of the things you talk about is kind of understanding the visual changes in dementia as well. What do you think carers often misunderstand about how dementia can change what a person sees or notices?
I think one of the visual changes that can happen that people may not be aware of is the visual change, the visual field that changes. And to me, when I learned about this, it was a game changer. At the beginning, I was like, okay, what does that actually mean in the reality of every day? I don't know. And then I realized that there was once I knew about the visual field that gets smaller, either like this, anyway. There are some little things that I realized that I was like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense because they can't see it. One example is when I was trying to play basketball with someone who was in later stages of the dementia. And so you imagine someone who's in a wheelchair, doesn't talk much, moves their hand, but not much otherwise. I was like, okay, let's play basketball with them. And I gave them the ball. They were, what do I do with that, Is it food? And then I realized they couldn't see the basket. Like you right now.
Yeah.
And so it was bringing it towards me and saying, okay, let's play basket, and play a little bit just to show them. And then afterwards, they were able to play with me. And with time, I could actually challenge them and make it a lot further away. I think we went up to a meter away, something. So it's, if you ask yourself, okay, what does the person actually see? You realize that a lot of the behaviors, the things that you can observe from the person, are related also to what they see. Or someone who is sitting at the table and looking for their drink, and like it's just here. And as soon as you place the drink in a way that is visible, they drink a lot more.
Now, you've mentioned this a few times as we're going through, but I think it's just worthwhile touching on a little bit, because I know it's something that kind of underpins a lot of what you speak about, and you've kind of mentioned it from both dimensions of what can cause stress, but also then how you could design activity to lower stress. And that's the N.U.T.S stress framework. When you first told me about that, I was a little bit nuts. That doesn't sound like the quite right wording for when we're talking about dementia. But as you said, it's a way of understanding stress in people generally originally, and actually then you recognize that it mapped over beautifully for where some dysregulation, some distress is caused in dementia. So I just want to go through one more time. I know you've mentioned it. So the N is for novelty.
Yeah.
What's the U for?
Unpredictability.
Then the T is for?
Threat to the ego.
Threat to the ego. And the S?
Low sense of control.
Low sense of control. So what we're looking at there is obviously the novelty is doing things completely new. Predictability is not knowing what comes next. I suppose.
Mhm.
The threat to the ego is what we've already mentioned a little bit, as the kind of not being able to do something, being like failing at something is going to damage our ego, for instance.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one again? How do you frame that
No,
one?
no sense of control.
Yeah, so lack of autonomy,
Yeah.
as far as like low decision, low choice, like knowing I don't want to do this or I want to do this first rather than this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think it's a really useful tool. And so do you teach that in your sessions? Is that kind of how you build out
So
the way you help people to understand this?
I have a workshop, a 2-hour workshop. Well, I have a 2-hour workshop where we talk about the nuts and how we can use it both for ourselves, because
Hmm.
let's be honest, it's stressful also for care partners.
Mm,
And so finding understanding our own stress and finding strategies to deal with that.
hmm.
And then it's how do I approach the person in a way that can lower those ingredients or lower
Mm,
the probability of them being present.
mhm.
And I just want to mention it's about the feeling, not about the reality. So for instance, something new, we all have things that we do very often and still feel kind of new to us.
Yeah.
And for me, driving, I've had my driving license for many, many years. It took many, many years after my driving license for it not to feel new to me.
Yeah,
There's
that makes a
always
lot of sense. Yeah.
it's a new route, it's a new thing. It's yes, it's not it's the same way that I usually use, but could be something new on it. That's unpredictable, but I mean, it just felt new to me. Or oh, I'm driving on my own for the first time. Of now
Mm,
in the UK, I'm driving on the wrong side of the road.
mm.
So
I I think so when I'm teaching around a condition called dyspraxia, so that's related to sensory processing disorder, one of the misunderstandings around dyspraxia for children is that, well, I taught you how to put on your coat, so now why aren't you putting on your coat? But the parent taught the child how to put on the coat that was their summer coat. So the summer coat is lighter of weight, it's a different color, it has a zip rather than buttons. So then they give this child another coat, and when the child isn't complying or isn't doing it, they're perceived as being disobedient or defiant or whatever, or just being silly rather than actually struggling with it. And that mapping over to understand the differences in processing and sensory understanding and sensory narrative that will also happen with those living with dementia. You gave the example there of a different route in a car, which is a great analogy, but it could be they're struggling to put their coat on because this is a different coat, or they're struggling to remember how to utilize a coat in this moment. They don't recognize this coat. So yeah, I think that's really useful to understand. Again, it's not they're being difficult; they are finding it difficult.
yeah, and also with familiar faces.
Mm,
They
yeah,
we often talk. I think I saw a video from you where you speak about greeting the person and coming and being like, "Oh, you're my friend," and right
yeah,
away
being
pretending
overly
like you know
familiar.
the
Yeah,
person, totally familiar.
yeah, yeah.
And it's the same if the person doesn't feel familiar, even if they are, even if like I visit my grandma and I expect her to remember me,
Mm,
it still feels unfamiliar to her.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's so important. I love the N.U.T.S framework. Definitely, I think that's worthwhile kind of considering and thinking about. And I think there's a few environments that I can kind of think, oh yeah, that'd be useful to kind of maybe mention.
but yeah, in the workshop, we look at how do we approach the person to make it more familiar, more
Mm-hmm.
predictable, less
Mm-hmm.
safe, more ego safe,
Yeah.
and give a sense of control, and also how to propose activities or tasks or whatever um, needs to be done, if we can say
Mm,
it like that, um, in a way that isn't directly taking control over the person. So we took the example a lot of times of, can you help me? During the podcast, we often said about helping, or it could be also looking at giving options. Would you rather have the red coat or the blue coat? Yeah, just looking into ways that we give options to the person, or we give control to the person, so that they don't feel like they need to say no right away.
Yeah, it's definitely ways of adding in more autonomy, even to basic tasks. Again, none of us. I wouldn't like it if my partner kind of came into the bedroom and sort of said like, "Oh, you need to put your coat on," and she decided which coat I was putting on. I think I'd like to go, well, I don't fancy that wearing that one today. I wanted that one. That's the one I had in mind. So I think again, going, oh, do you want me to bring your coat up, or do you want to put it on downstairs? Even though she's still telling me to put the coat on, just that little choice means that then that I've got some control over it. I think people take that for granted, that you can do very minor choices that still have an overall direction or a similar direction to them. And that's in all sorts of settings. I have to teach people to do that. So we're sort of coming to a close. A couple more questions, if that's okay. One of the things, and we've kind of touched on it maybe a little bit, but how do we help carers move away from getting the activity right and towards simply just being present with the person?
To me, one of the things that's important is meeting yourself where you're at and recognizing that it's challenging and being proud of yourself. Because if we look at the N.U.T.S, one of the things is the ego safety. And often when it gets difficult, well, it takes a lot of ego for everybody. Like, oh, it's not going the way I wish it was. So I'm taking it personally. And so it's kind of reframing this idea of it's not going the way I want because I'm messing it up, and it's not going the way I want because I'm challenging myself and I'm trying something new, and I can be proud of myself for trying something new and seeing if it works. And if it doesn't work, just saying, I'm sorry. We tried something. Thank you so much for trying with me. Let's just do something else. Let's go with plan B. Always have a plan B just in case.
Well, it's one of the things we teach in the adaptive caregiver model, where it's where we're looking at the guide as a strategy, as a role that a caregiver needs to play, and we do a certain activity where we get them to help somebody to do something. And the big thing is everybody wants to get their partner to do something perfect rather than just do it. And I think sometimes it's recognizing our own kind of mindset around what the activity is. You know, if I'm making a paper airplane, or if I'm, the paper airplane, it doesn't have to fly. It doesn't matter. Sometimes if I've got a group of kids and we're doing paper airplanes, some of them would fly, some of them wouldn't. Some of them would land like a rolled up bit of paper and some would soar. But the fun or the activity is in the making of the aeroplanes and having a go at flying them and having a laugh about the ones that works and being in awe of the ones that did work. And again, just enjoying it as it is. It's that nature of presence, isn't it? As going, just be in the moment. And I think we're all guilty. Like parents are always guilty of that, of like playing a board game and going, if you're not going to play it properly. And it's like, well, but just spend 10 minutes engaging with this person. It doesn't matter whether they're doing it properly. Maybe it's about the connection with you, and play it in a silly way. Let them play it how they want in that moment. It doesn't matter. There's no universal law that says you must play Monopoly the right way, otherwise you're not allowed to pick up the pieces. Just let them do
it. Exactly. Just accepting the way it is and go with it.
Absolutely. Find the joy in it. Allow yourself the flexibility to play and have fun. 100%.
Yeah.
So for any carer listening who feels like they're running out of ways to connect, what's one small, realistic thing they could try this week to create a moment of calm, meaning, or connection with the person that they support?
What I like is having music in the background. And this way I can observe how the person responds to it. I think it's one of those pretty easy things, the music part, and you can just have it in the background. And sometimes it's really impressive how just one music, we were talking about this one tune that just changes everything. And the places I've worked where we had music and really with lyrics and everything, was very impressive how all of a sudden I would meet someone, one of the residents, and was like, let's dance, let's do something, And so I would say having music in the background can be very helpful. Not all the time, but for 30 minutes, an hour. Or if you want to try aiming games or playing with a balloon, that's also ways to connect that have a tendency to work. I'm not saying work with everybody, but those are kind of my, when I don't know the person yet, my go-to moves, because usually it's quite appreciated.
Music and balloons. That's
Music and
music and balloons. That is a great closing quote to go off. That's it. There's your takeaway, a message, everybody. Put some music on, have some balloons in your pocket, and start becoming creative with those two items. Love that. Well, Florence, thank you so much for chatting with us today. So where can people, I know obviously you do your training, but you also run your dementia talks as well, don't you? We'll obviously make sure we put things in the show notes and description so they can find you. But tell us a little bit about how people can find you.
So you can find me on dementiapartnercare.co.uk. And that's where I have my website and where you can find the services I offer, the workshops I have with the dates and everything. Then you have the YouTube videos that I'm starting to do. And that's also Dementia Partner Care. Really, if you go on Google and you put Dementia Partner Care, you can usually find it.
Find you. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, thank you very much. So thank you for joining me again, Florence. Genuine pleasure. And we'll have to have you again sometime. So for all of you out there listening or watching, hopefully you found some little nuggets in here that are really useful. Maybe strange walking away saying, I've now got N.U.T.S and I think I could go. I think I could use it to help. Balloons and music. But I think there's been some valuable information in the episode today. Obviously, if there is further information you'd like, please check out the information about Florence and her website in the show notes and description. And if you think anything in this episode has been useful to yourself or others, then please like, comment and share. And if you are looking into things like the adaptive caregiver model, then please reach out to myself. Check out the book as well. Be in touch. Enjoy. Bye-bye.